The following story may disgust and intrigue you, so be warned. The castles of old were not just symbols of power and luxury, but of filth, stench, and secrets better left behind closed doors. Today, you'll walk through chambers rarely shown in movies or paintings. This is the untold story of how castle toilets really worked, and why life as a noble might have meant holding your nose and praying for a strong wind. Picture a classic medieval castle, towering stone walls, stained glass windows glowing in the morning sun, grand halls echoing with banquets and laughter. But in hidden corners, up narrow spiral stairs or behind thick wooden doors, lies another reality, a world where royalty and commoner alike had to answer nature's call in ways that would shock us now. Long before the age of porcelain thrones, bathrooms were anything but private. In most castles, the lavatory wasn't a dedicated room. The word you all hear in dusty records is garderobe, a term that sounds almost dignified, but what it describes is anything but. A garderobe was usually a narrow stone passage built into the outer walls. At the end, a simple wooden or stone bench sat over a gaping hole. Below, gravity did the rest, sending waste tumbling down a vertical shaft. In many castles, these shafts opened directly onto the ground below or into the surrounding moat. Now imagine, you're surrounded by thick, cold stone, perched over an abyss where centuries of waste collect. The smell rises constantly, mingling with the damp air and the sweetness of decaying rushes on the floor. The only ventilation is a small slit in the stone, offering a bitter draught and a tiny bit of daylight. Some castles tried to improve the system. They built shafts that jutted out over the walls, the so-called murder holes. But instead of boiling oil or arrows, what fell down was far less glorious. Instead of attacking invaders, you showered them with something else. Moats, which you might picture as sparkling blue, were often choked with sewage leaching out from these chutes. The deeper and more modern the castle, the more elaborate the garderobes. Several could be stacked vertically, one above another, meaning your experience depended a lot on how high up the social ladder and the literal tower you were. Privacy? Forget it. Many garderobes were built for shared use, with multiple holes sitting side by side. Picture a row of stone thrones, no stalls or doors, just the awkward company of fellow nobles. The rushes that covered the castle floors were sometimes swept into the garderobe shafts as makeshift flushes. If you were lucky, a thin slab of stone separated you from the drop below. If not, splashes and drafts mingled freely. Occasionally, the chutes clogged. When that happened, the unlucky servants known as gong farmers were called in. Their job was to scrape out congealed filth that could be feet thick, a dangerous task, one wrong move, and they might join the waste they were cleaning. Hygiene? Medieval knowledge was a mix of superstition and guesswork. Water was not considered truly sanitary. Instead of washing, people might simply wipe with straw, moss, or handfuls of old cloth. Perfume, scented flowers, or dried herbs were scattered everywhere to mask the omnipresent stink. In the winter, sitting on cold stone could be torture. There were stories of nobles dashing from their beds to a freezing garderobe, wriggling on the bench in discomfort while icy drafts swept up the shaft. Some queens and lords used padded, close stools, wooden chairs with a hole in the seat and a chamber pot beneath, so you could do your business in the privacy and warmth of your chamber. But don't think that meant true luxury. Those pots were emptied by servants and sometimes tossed out windows, splattering walkways below. Streets winding through castle towns were often literal open sewers. Anyone out for a stroll risked far more than rain. Despite the unpleasantness, garderobes did have a clever side. Some were built with chutes that ran down the outside walls, making them hard targets for invaders to climb. The ammonia from all that waste helped discourage rats and was even used to clean clothes. Yes, noble garments might be soaked in urine before washing to bleach the fabric. But even in stone fortresses, the stench clung to everything. Perfumes, herbal sachets, and fresh rushes could not truly compete with centuries of human waste. There are chronicles of great feasts in candlelit halls, sumptuous music and laughter, only for a sudden gust of wind to waft a reminder of what lurked just beyond the wall. And all the fine clothes, silks and gold. They could not save a noble from needing to squat like anyone else, bracing for cold, stink and loss of dignity. What about the servants? For the lower orders, options were even worse. Chamber pots under rickety beds, open cesspits, outhouses well away from the main keep. Gong farmers worked by torchlight, scraping the worst of humanity in exchange for a living. Their work was so dangerous, methane gas, disease and cave-ins, that some fell victim and became part of the filth they managed. Myths and superstitions gathered around these humble necessities. There were beliefs that evil spirits could enter your body from below as you used the garderobe. Some garderobe doors had holy symbols or crosses scratched into the stone to keep demons at bay. Others warned against using the shaft during storms. The swirling winds, it was thought, could suck a person down or bring curses into the castle. With the centuries, technology crept forward. By the Renaissance, courtly etiquette began to shift. Portable chamber pots, more elaborate close stools, and early attempts at plumbing appeared in royal palaces. But even in Elizabeth's court, the most ornate palace could still be overwhelmed by the stink of its own hidden passageways. So, next time you imagine yourself as a lord or lady walking the halls of a castle, remember the hidden story beneath your feet. The glamour of power was always only a thin mask over the reality of rot, stench, and the universal humility of going to the bathroom. If you want more unsanitized truths about history's filthiest secrets, subscribe and get ready. There are many more disgusting surprises where these came from.
More filthy secrets inside.